funding for it. Funding. How did this? I mean, please elaborate. How did the funding come about? First, who had the idea?
Absolutely. So I started this program 2 years ago when I was
2 years ago.
19. Yeah, I started this 2 years ago when I was 19.
Uh-huh.
And so I started this program because where I live in Albany, Georgia, at one point we were the fourth poorest city in the whole United States. And our crime rate at one point actually had got to number one for murder per capita. I mean, our city is only 77,000 people, and our city is majority black. So it's about 74 to 77% black people here. We don't own any major institutions here, but churches and funeral homes. I find that an issue. And I'm just like, or a few restaurants here and there, but most of our main facilities and institutions are owned by white people and or Jews or Arabs, etc. We don't own any major institutions. And I'm just like, this could be a real, something good for us, if we do it right. But I started a program because I've been going to all of these different community meetings, etc. To see, like, what could we do about the violence? I went to these Stop the Violence rallies, etc. But I started giving my ideas, but people loved what I was saying, but nobody wanted to go do the work. So I was getting booked to come speak here and there, but nobody wanted to do the work. So what I did was I dropped off grid and I made a flyer. I made a flyer for a field trip to the African American History Museum in Atlanta, Georgia on January the 20th of 2019. And I made that and I told parents I charged $20 for the field trip. That's to get their tickets, to both museums and to feed them. And plus, to rent the van as well. So I did that field trip for those kids. And it was so beautiful looking at the children. They were age 11 to 17, asking the questions, just being intuitive, etc., and wanting to get out of their condition. When I was talking to them, I'm like, dang, these kids really don't want to live like they live in. They really want to learn something. They just need some consistency in their lives. So I kept it going. I made another flyer on my phone. I said, I'm going to teach 20 young boys how to change oil. I said, oil change workshop. And I did it at my uncle's house. We had 2 cars there and we taught 20 boys how to change oil. And then after that, I did a brake change workshop. I taught 20 boys how to change brakes on a car. And from then on, I started doing workshops constantly. I'd use different people's shops and things like that. And then the summertime came around. And I had just lost my job. And I think that was God pushing me to do what I was supposed to be doing. I lost my job and, I had just bought my own home at 19. So I own my home as well.
You lost your job doing what?
I was a forklift driver. I was driving forklift at Miller Corps here in Albany. But I lost my job. And I was like, man, I got to do something, for these kids. I've been wanting to do something for these kids anyway. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a summer camp. I'm going to host it out of my house. I'm going to make me a flyer and say everything that I'm offering. And we're going to make it happen. So I said I was going to have a max of 20 kids. I made a flyer. I said, I'm going to be offering to teach automotive repair, construction work. I have land. My granddad helps me grow my own food. So I was like, I'm going to teach them how to garden. We're going to do field trips, et cetera, et cetera. And I put it on Facebook, took it to the different churches. I went to the schools and, gave them out, et cetera. And I had my 20 kids. I had 20 parents trust this 19-year-old kid with their babies every day from 8 to 5 during the summertime. And we learned everything. I taught them how to put in toilets. We did ceiling fans, sheetrock, flooring. We did automotive repair. We changed alternators, spark plugs, putting in new batteries, starters, everything, all in that one summer. It was so beautiful. We did field trips. It was awesome. And I had so many people from around the community come donate us like water, and the school system helped me feed the kids. So they came and brought food to the house every day for us to help feed the boys and things like that, and it was so beautiful. I'm right here in my dining room. I got me a small dry erase board. It was literally about this big, and I nailed it to my wall, and I taught every day vocabulary words. We did sentences and we did Black history, all of that stuff. We talked about Marcus Garvey. And what's funny is we actually watched all the Hidden Colors, me and all my boys. We watched Hidden Colors. That was interesting. But, those are some of the things that we did, for that first summer. Then fast forward, out of those 20 kids that I had, 12 of them couldn't read. And I was like, y'all can't read? What's going on? I had a 6th grader who couldn't even read cat dog. And I'm just like, son, how are you in the 6th grade and you can't read or write? That was an issue for me because I'm just like, how are you passing through school and you cannot read? So I started a book club. So I started reading Hill Harper's book, Letters to a Young Brother, with them. Wow. And Hill Harper actually reached out to us on Instagram at that point because he was like, I'd like to do a Skype video call, but we didn't ever get that set up. But he was actively watching and looking at what we were doing every week. We did book club every week. The boys were learning how to read. Vocabulary was getting good. Then I started them a bowling team because I was just like, I want to get them into some different sports, and they can get scholarships for bowling, etc. at HBCUs and everything for bowling. And so we started a bowling team. We started doing that, and we were gaining a lot of steam. We did more field trips, more workshops. I mean, I was just constantly busy with the boys. So then fast forward to 2020, COVID happened, and I had to stop everything. So I stopped everything. And when I stopped everything, it was so interesting because I couldn't do anything. Like, I didn't know what to do. The boys were like, Mr. King, what we're going to do? I'm just like, I don't know, but we'll figure something out. But the parents started calling me and was like, can you do something for the kids? And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what you want me to do? I'm just like, I can't do anything. But so they kept asking. I was like, you know what? I said, listen, if I am going to do something with these kids, they're going to have to come stay at my house for the summer. And they was like, all right. So I went and bought 3 bunk beds. I put them in my living room and we made it happen. So the kids stayed with me. I had 7 boys stay with me the entire summertime of 2020. I taught the same things I taught the previous summer. We went to a farm every day. We picked watermelons, trying to get, some exercise for them. I did a lot of teaching. We did field trips still. I taught them how to change toilets. We did sheetrock. I mean, everything. And one particular sheetrock tweet that I made. Now, mind you, all this I had never been posting on social media. But somebody kept saying, King, you need to post what you're doing on social media because this is special. And I'm just like, okay. So I finally started posting what we were doing, and I made a tweet about us doing sheetrock, and it kind of it like went mini viral. It got like 3,000 something likes or whatever. But people was like, King, they was like, hey, you need to make a GoFundMe or something. Now, mind you, I had already told my kids 2 years prior that we was gonna open us up a school. I said, I don't know how we gonna do it. We're gonna have some big boy faith, and we gonna make it happen. So I never knew how we was gonna do it. But we believed in ourselves. We kept doing all the work. We kept, going to make a little money here and there. I mean, we was painting houses and everything. Like, we learned how to paint houses.
You're doing all this for free? You're taking the kids for free?
Yeah, I was thinking
field trips for. Where were you getting the money from? Would you take a second out on your home?
No, my mom would help me. The field trips, I would probably charge about $20 and I still would go in the hole for it. My light bill went up to about $1,000. When I tell you God just made it happen, he literally just made it happen. Like, one time a pastor called me and was like, hey, I seen what you're doing on Facebook. I want you to come visit the church. And then he brought me to the front of the church. He was like, everybody just come give the whole offering to this man. And that paid my bills for like that 2 months, and when I tell you God just made it happen, he just made it happen. No matter what it was, somebody would call and be like, King, come get this, or I learned how to cut hair. I started cutting hair off of YouTube. I started being a neighborhood handyman. Me and my little brother, we got up every day. We went to go paint houses. We got up to go cut hair. We got up to go fix people's cars. This is what we did every day. Me and my little brother, he'll tell you, he was 14. This is all we did just to be able to feed the kids, be able to go on field trips, and be able to pay my bills. That's what we did. We made it happen every day. Like, I got pictures and everything. And so, we was dedicated to it. His school was closed because of COVID. So we had to do what we had to do. But we made it happen. I showed him, he's watched me have nothing and still make it happen. And that's why my little brother looks up to me so much. He's 15 now. He's taller than me too. He's like 6'1", brother, big. But but he looks up to me so much now. But that's how we made it happen, man. And so people asked us on Twitter to make a GoFundMe, and I was like, all right, bet. Made a GoFundMe, and we made like $10,000 like the first 4 days. Like, people started donating. So I was like, well, guess I'll start going to look at buildings. I guess I got enough for a down payment. So we started looking at buildings around the city, and we found this one building. It was our old Red Cross building. It was a big building in the middle of the city, kind of where a lot of traffic was. No land, a lot of work that needed to be done, but we didn't see any other buildings that we liked for this location. So we was like, well, I guess we'll turn this into a school. So we started a rally around that building. And if you saw our promotional video, that was that building that you saw on the promotional video. So, I mean, we rallied around it. We was trying to raise the money for it, but it just wasn't working out. And I was just like, in December, we just killed the contract with them. We was just like, yeah, this is not going to work. This is not realistic for us. And we just passed on it. And somebody called me and was like, King, did you reach out to the school system to see if they have any old buildings that they're not using? I thought it's a good idea. I was good friends with the superintendent. So I called Mr. Dyer and I was like, hey, Mr. Dyer, do you guys have any buildings that you all are not using anymore? And he was like, yeah, we got 3 buildings up for demolition. I said, really? He was like, yeah. So I was like, can I tour one of them? He was like, sure. So we set up a tour of one of the buildings on the side of town where the children need it, on the side of town where I serve the most children on the side of town, right beside the projects, etc. Already got crosswalk and everything. I went and toured it. The school is in immaculate condition. They just stopped using it 2 years ago. It has a few things we need to do to it, but it's in immaculate condition. 36,000 square feet, 25 classrooms, cafeteria, library, everything except the gym. I mean, it's beautiful. Plus, it has room for development. There's land around the school that we could buy eventually to be able to add on to it. Not to mention, we could add on to the school where it is because of all the land that it sits on. I mean, it's in great condition. I called some contractors out. We got a full inspection on the building. I mean, they were just like, the building's in great condition. You got a few, things you got to do to it, but it's in great condition. So I was like, Mr. Dyer, we want to do it. We want to try and get this building. So we got into our negotiations and we finally got to a deal. And now we're just working out the logistics, man. I mean, it's like when I tell you big boy faith, that's all we had. That's literally all we worked with, like mustard seed faith, and literally made it happen. Like me and some little teenagers went and bought a school. I'm just like, that's how we make it work in our community. So I want us to be an inspiration to anybody else in the Black community that think they can't go do nothing. I just gave you a full story of hard work and determination from a 21-year-old and some teenagers that wanted to make something happen for their communities. We're not allowing nobody to make any more excuses as to what we can't do, because as long as you go and do something, you can affect change in your community.